my credential. Real badge, real ID. I'm an instructor out of Quantico counterintelligence division.
Yeah, okay. Fake one looks pretty convincing. I'll give you that.
It's not fake. You know, you can call the number on the back or run it through NCIC. It'll come back with my name.
FBI, you?
Yes, me.
Sir, this is my credential. Real badge. Real ID. The man's voice was calm, measured in a way that didn't beg to be believed, because it didn't need to. He held the credential case open at chest level, angled toward the officer so the camera would catch it clearly. A federal seal, a photograph, a name, the kind of ID most people only see on television. Officer Nathan stared at it like it was a magic trick. Yeah, Nathan said, forcing a short laugh. Okay, fake one looks pretty convincing. I'll give you that. It's not fake, the man replied. You can call the number on the back or run it through NCIC. It'll come back with my name. Nathan blinked, like the words didn't fit the story he'd already written in his head. FBI? You? Yes, the man said. Me. And in less than a minute, a routine check became the kind of bodycam moment that ends careers, triggers investigations, and makes a department wish the camera had malfunctioned. Before we go any further, if you want more stories like this, where one bad assumption turns into a full-blown incident, caught on camera, subscribe now. These situations happen fast, and the details are everything. It was a quiet Tuesday morning in Arlington, the kind of morning where nothing feels like it should go wrong. An office park with clean sidewalks, mirrored windows, and rows of parked cars that all look the same if you don't pay attention. The lot was nearly empty. Just a few early arrivals, a janitor pushing a cart, and employees walking in with coffee cups and lanyards swinging from their necks. Officer Nathan had been patrolling these office parks for over a decade. He prided himself on spotting suspicious behavior before it escalated. In his mind, he wasn't paranoid. He was proactive, the type of cop who prevented problems by noticing the little things other people ignored. But Reynolds's record told a more complicated story. Internal notes and quiet complaints had followed him for years. Repeated stops of young black men for minor, harmless things. Parking slightly crooked. Carrying a backpack. Walking with purpose. Existing in spaces Reynolds didn't mentally assign to them. The complaints never turned into anything serious. No formal discipline. No consequences that stuck. Just reminders. Retraining. Coaching. The kind of administrative response that teaches an officer the system will protect him as long as he can justify the stop with the right words. To Reynolds, suspicion wasn't a bias. It was an instinct. And that morning, with his body cam rolling, instinct found a target. He saw a black man walking across the lot toward one of the office buildings. Mid-40s. Professional, but not flashy. A black briefcase in his left hand. Calm stride, head up. And most noticeably, an ID badge hanging prominently from his neck, catching sunlight with each step. To anyone else, it looked normal. People wore badges here. Contractors, consultants, federal employees. Arlington was full of them. But Reynolds' eyes locked onto the badge, like it was a challenge. He pulled his cruiser into a diagonal position behind the man's parked car, an unnecessary move that broadcast authority. The camera captured the subtle click as the body cam fully engaged, an audio cue that would later become the timestamp on a viral clip. "Excuse me, sir," Reynolds called out, voice sharper than the quiet lot required. The man stopped and turned with a polite nod. No irritation, no fear, just calm attention. "Good morning," he said. "How can I help you?" His name was Marcus Bennett, 42, an instructor out of Quantico, counterintelligence division, the kind of federal professional who trained law enforcement personnel for a living, FBI and other agencies, on exactly how not to let ego or assumption turn a simple interaction into an unnecessary escalation. That day, Marcus was heading to a consulting meeting at a federal contractor's office across the lot. Routine assignment, normal workday, nothing dramatic. But Reynolds didn't see a consultant. He saw a contradiction. A black man, a federal credential, confident posture. And in Reynolds's mind, the combination didn't belong together. "I need to see some identification," Reynolds demanded, stepping closer. His posture was tense, almost confrontational, like he was already bracing for a fight. Marcus didn't flinch. He reached into his wallet slowly, then brought out his driver's license and the credential. "This is my credential," Marcus said, holding it open. "I'm here for a meeting at the contractor's office across the lot." Reynolds barely looked at the license. His focus stayed glued to the federal ID. "Are you sure that's real?" Reynolds asked, nodding toward it like it was a toy badge. Marcus's expression didn't change. "Yes, it's real. You're welcome to verify with dispatch." Reynolds's hand hovered near his radio. The camera caught the micro moment. The officer's brain weighing whether to accept the simplest explanation or double down on the suspicion he'd already committed to. The lot felt subtly different now. A janitor slowed his cart. 2 employees paused near a curb, coffee forgotten, watching with that cautious curiosity people get when they sense trouble but don't understand why it started. Marcus remained composed, like someone who had trained for this exact type of interaction. "Officer," Marcus said, voice steady, "everything here is legitimate. I'm an FBI instructor. Verify it with dispatch, run it through NCIC, call the number on the back, whatever you need." The more calm Marcus stayed, the more Reynolds seemed unsettled by it. Because calm doesn't match the suspicious narrative. Calm makes an officer feel exposed if he's wrong. Reynolds' jaw tightened. He looked around as if searching for support from the environment. Something that would confirm he was right. But there was nothing. No stolen car report, no complaint, no suspicious behavior. Just a man with a briefcase and a credential walking to a meeting. So Reynolds did what officers do when they can't find evidence, but refuse to be wrong. He escalated. "Sir, stay right there," Reynolds said. "I'm going to verify your credentials." "I've already shown you my ID," Marcus replied. "You can verify it. I'm fully cooperative." Reynolds didn't answer. He grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, I need backup," he said. "I've got a suspicious individual. Black male, mid-40s, professional attire, possibly carrying a fake federal ID. Request immediate verification." The words hung in the air, loud and damaging. Marcus's eyes narrowed slightly. Not angry, not threatened. More like disappointed recognition. He'd heard that framing before. The way suspicion gets built into a statement, so that by the time backup arrives, the scene already feels like a criminal situation. A couple more employees stopped walking and started watching. One person lifted a phone. Not openly, but instinctively, the way people do now when they sense an incident forming. Marcus raised one hand slightly, palm visible, a subtle, "I'm not the threat here" gesture. "Officer," Marcus said, "I understand you have a job to do. But what you're doing right now is turning a routine morning into something it doesn't need to be. Verify the credential. It will confirm everything." Reynolds' pride didn't allow him to step back. Within minutes, 2 more officers arrived and stepped out cautiously. Their demeanor was different, less rigid, less aggressive. They looked at Reynolds, then at Marcus, and you could see the uncertainty. Because Marcus didn't look like a suspect. He looked like what he said he was, a professional with authority. One of the backup officers, a younger patrolman named Davis, glanced at Reynolds and murmured, "Sir, he said he's an FBI instructor. Should we just follow protocol and verify first?" Reynolds snapped, He's acting suspicious. I want verification first. It made no sense, because verification was the only thing Marcus had been asking for the entire time. But Reynolds wasn't managing the facts anymore. He was managing his ego. The body cam captured everything. Reynolds' tense posture, his repeated insistence on suspicion, Marcus's unwavering composure, and the way the backup officers quietly started realizing they'd stepped into a situation that didn't smell right. Cars passed on the access road. Office life continued in the background. But the air in that corner of the lot felt heavy, like a standoff was forming out of nothing. Dispatch crackled through the radio. "Officer Reynolds, confirm the reason for the stop." Reynolds hesitated. The truth was he didn't have one, and the radio operator could hear it. "ID flagged as a federal credential." Dispatch continued. "Verification pending." Backup officers exchanged glances. The moment shifted. The story Reynolds was trying to tell, fake ID, suspicious person, started collapsing under the weight of the system doing its job. Marcus kept his tone calm but firm. "Officer Reynolds, verify directly through federal records. It will come back immediately." Reynolds swallowed. You could see the tension in his face, the dawning realization that he might have created a scene he couldn't justify. Then dispatch came back again. Clear, direct, and impossible to spin. "Officer Reynolds, verification confirmed. Individual is Marcus Bennett, FBI instructor, authorized to be on site." Silence. The radio's confirmation hung in the air like a verdict. Reynolds froze with the radio still in his hand, and for a second the camera caught something rare. An officer realizing he has nowhere left to hide. His suspicion wasn't instinct. It was bias. And now it had been disproven on an official channel, with multiple officers standing there to witness it. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't gloat. He didn't need to. He simply nodded once, letting the truth do what it always does when it's finally allowed to speak. "As you can hear," Marcus said quietly, "everything checks out." The backup officers exhaled, relief mixed with discomfort. Davis shook his head slightly, under his breath, like he couldn't believe what he'd just witnessed. Reynolds finally spoke into the radio, his tone smaller than before. "Dispatch, no further action required." He clicked it off and stood there, staring at the credential that had triggered the entire incident. Not because it was suspicious, but because he had decided it had to be. Marcus adjusted the strap on his briefcase and turned toward the building again. "Thank you," he said, not as gratitude, but as a professional closing a conversation that should never have happened. Then, with the kind of quiet authority that doesn't need a raised voice, he added, "In the future, start with verification, not assumptions." Reynolds didn't respond. He couldn't. Not without admitting what everyone already understood. Marcus walked away, steady and composed, disappearing into the contractor's office as if the world hadn't just tried to pull him into a problem he didn't create. But Reynolds stayed behind. Because even though the stop was over, the consequences were only beginning. He knew the body cam had captured every moment. The initial suspicion, the fake ID accusation, the request for backup, the way he framed Marcus before confirming anything, the way he doubled down when calm professionalism should have ended it. He also knew how these things traveled. First internally, reviewed by supervisors, discussed in roll call, whispered about in hallways. Then externally, because someone always uploads it, and once it's out forever. A routine morning in an Arlington office park had turned into a case study in how quickly bias can override training, and how dangerous it becomes when an officer's pride refuses to let the facts end the encounter. Marcus Bennett didn't have to do anything dramatic to win that moment. He simply stayed calm, insisted on proper verification, and let the system confirm what he had told Reynolds from the beginning. And that's the part that matters. Because the question isn't whether Marcus was legitimate. The question is why Reynolds needed proof at all. Proof he would never have demanded from someone who looked right in his head. If you believe professionalism and accountability should always outweigh bias, make sure you're subscribed. More stories like this are coming, and the next one is even harder to watch.